Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today in Titletown Packers Podcast. My name is Griffin. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at AllDayPackers, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-hosts Bron and Mason. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good, man. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Packer Post.
I'm doing great as well. You can follow me on Instagram at Lambo Leapers.
And today we're going to be talking about that Monday Night Football win, 1-point win over the Detroit Lions. We're going to be looking ahead to this Sunday's game against the Oakland Raiders. We're going to be talking about the offense, the defense, the wide receivers, all things Packers on this Packers podcast. But first, we're going to get into some news. Rookie tight end Jace Sternberger has been designated to return from injured reserve. He was put on IR earlier this August, and he's been cleared to practice. So that's good news for a player that the Packers really don't know what they have in him. Didn't play a lot in camp, was hurt during much of the preseason. The athletic numbers are there. He's very much an athlete. Could be a pretty good weapon in this offense.
Yeah, and it looks like he could possibly return week 9 after 2 weeks of practice if he is able to go. And that would be a bit of a boost to the offense, which kind of lacks that offensive production from the tight end spot consistently week in and week out. And if he's as dynamic as he was at the college level at Texas A&M, he might be a solid piece for Aaron Rodgers to use, especially at that tight end spot.
Yeah, for sure. And another guy coming back from injury is safety Ibrahim Campbell. He wasn't on IR, but he was on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. He was put there earlier this summer when the Packers re-signed him.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, this is not going to count towards their IR designation because he was on the PUP list. So in addition to bringing back Jace, they'll be able to bring back another player like Raven Green or Lane Taylor if they choose to later in this season.
Right. And, Campbell, he played with us last year before tearing his ACL. He was a midseason signing, and a lot of people would say he was the Packers' best safety last season. Obviously, their safety group wasn't very strong, but Campbell played pretty well, pretty surprisingly well. He was a sure tackler, and I like what he can add to this team when he comes back, because we're kind of missing that box safety ever since Raven Green was put on IR.
Yeah, he had a lot of success there, and Raven Green has as well. And with both of them hurt, it kind of leaves a void right now where we're kind of struggling to fill that spot week in and week out. But hopefully we can get at least one of them back in the coming weeks, and that'd be a big boost to the defense for sure.
And the last piece of news we have is probably the most important one. Packers today signed wide receiver Ryan Grant. Drafted in 2014, he's played with Washington, Indianapolis, and most recently Oakland. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a very nice depth signing. Obviously, as we saw Monday night, the Packers were very slim on wide receiver, running, Darius Shepard, Jake Kumaro, Alan Lazard, all getting first-team reps. And with Geronimo now having a concussion/rib injury, Ryan Grant might be able to play this week against his old team, the Raiders. And we don't know how long Devontae is going to be out. This isn't like a sexy signing like Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green. But, Ryan Grant had a couple good years in Washington. He didn't really find his footing in Indianapolis or Oakland. But, he's a guy that could be able to contribute this week against his former team. I'm excited for him. We really don't know the progression of Devontae's injury. Obviously, Darius Shepard, Jake Kumaro aren't really the type of guys who went running out with the first team. But yeah, hopefully he's able to contribute, and hopefully it works out for us.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be able to get out there this week. Aaron Rodgers kind of, hoped that he'd be able to get on the playbook quickly because he's had a similar offense in his past. But I still kind of struggled to see him get any kind of significant role over the guys like Jake Kumaro or Alan Lazard at this point, just because it's not going to be a familiar playbook for him. So I think it's definitely a nice signing for now if Devontae can't go and if Geronimo can't go, which is looking like to be the case. But I do think they're going to have to run with it looks like Kumaro and Lazard as the 1 and 2 behind MVS at this point, and then Shepard will rotate in if he has to. Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be tough with the guys we have right now, even with Ryan Grant if he plays. But I'm looking forward to seeing these young guys hopefully hang on to some more balls this week and play better.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to have immediate impact like against Oakland or anything, but I think he does add a lot of value to this offense. I don't think he's like what an Emmanuel Sanders would do for us or what Amari Cooper did for the Cowboys. And I don't think he's going to make our offense like some unstoppable force, but I think he's an average NFL wide receiver. He has value, and we don't really have a lot of that right now. You saw it on Monday night. We had Darius Shepard, Alan Lazard, Jake Kumaro at one point. I mean, I'd say Ryan Grant's better than all those guys. And he's kind of a player that the Packers don't really have right now. He's a traditional slot receiver. He's quick. He's a true deep threat. And I mean, the closest thing to that would be Darius Shepard, who is an undrafted free agent who can't put it all together yet. Rodgers doesn't have all the trust in the world with him. He can't really catch reliably, as we saw on Monday night. So I'm excited for Ryan Grant. When I saw we were trying when he had that tryout for us a couple weeks ago, I was pretty excited. I thought that'd be a good signing for us, and I'm glad we got it done.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who is he's 6 foot and he's 190 some pounds, so he's definitely that like slot receiver mold body type you're looking for, as opposed to who was running a lot of the slot recently, Geronimo Allison, who's kind of the polar opposite body type, and Alan Lazard last week. And he's a 6'5", guy who can win on the outside more than anything. So having a quicker guy with a lot less, length is a lot better for a route running spot like the slot receiver. And I think he can contribute if he can, get on the playbook and learn it quickly. I think he could contribute against Oakland, but it won't be much. So we're gonna have to have Shepard come in and play a lot better than he did last week in all facets of the game. So. It's going to be interesting to see what we can do there, but I'm looking forward to getting Grant into the fold, and hopefully he can quickly contribute.
And that leads us perfectly into our first talking point of the day. We're going to be talking about those wide receivers on Monday night and how unreliable they were outside of Alan Lazard. Yeah, what do you guys?
Alan Lazard had that drop.
Yeah.
On that play right before that.
Wasn't perfect either.
Nobody was perfect, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. I put this on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, All Day Packers. I put this on Twitter. The wide receiver group is just so untalented right now. No scheme, no amazing quarterback play is going to elevate them into reliable players. I think the Packers desperately need a move or get Davante Adams back as soon as possible, because without Davante Adams, this offense is so much more limited because we just don't have a guy that we can go to every down. Geronimo is hurt, but even when he wasn't hurt, he just forgot how to catch a football. And then MVS, he's fast, but he can't really run routes correctly. He's not like a precise route runner as you'd like to see from him. And even he is kind of unreliable with his hands. He doesn't really have the strong hands yet. He can't really catch through contact. And then outside of those two, I mean, you're looking at Jake Kumaro, who's like a worse version of Geronimo Allison, Alan Lazard, who played pretty well on Monday night, but still isn't anything that you're going to get excited over. I just think we really need Emmanuel Sanders. I'm stuck on Emmanuel Sanders right now. I really, really hope we can make a move for him sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So looking at these guys, the Packers receivers that they currently have right now, MVS, after Geronimo left the game, had Darius Slay on him the entire rest of the game, and he was not able to get anything going, apart from that huge catch that he had on Justin Coleman, one of the Lions' other good corners, and he's going to get plastered by whoever their top corner is, and that's going to make it difficult for him to win matchups. So that's where Rodgers has to look towards other receiving options like Alan Lazard, where he kind of came into stardom last week, played well, and Jake Kumaro, who's had he's had some big splash plays in the past, and I think he can play well if given some opportunities. He had a couple catches last week and he did play well, so obviously he's one of the more sure-handed receivers on the squad, and I think he can definitely take one of those starting roles for now until Adams and Geronimo come back. I'm comfortable with him. But after that, Lazard, he did have that one drop, like we said, and then he did catch that football. It was almost another drop there. He barely hung on to that touchdown catch. Hopefully he can continue to make plays like he was against the Lions. But you still never know with these undrafted rookies. So I definitely think he's going to be a definite starter for us next week alongside Kumaro and MVS. And then after that, Shepard, he kind of just really had, a really brutal game. That interception that Rodgers threw, I don't even want to say Rodgers threw that interception because Darius Shepard basically just handed it to Coleman there, and it was rough to see because just hit him right in the face as he slipped, and then bounces right into the corner's hands, and he took it back really far there, and that was a game-changing play. We were right in the red zone, a chance to score there, and that was very disappointing. He needs to be better. It's gonna be tough to come back from that, and it's gonna be tough for him to get many opportunities to see the field, especially if he doesn't start out hot. And after that, what are you even looking at? I don't even know who else is there at that point besides Ryan Grant, who can hopefully come in and play well. But it's looking gloomy right now in the Packers wide receiver depth chart if Devontae can't go this week.
Yeah, man. And another thing we saw Monday night was just a bunch of drops. I saw a stat on Twitter: the Packers receivers dropped 6 passes from Aaron Rodgers, and 2 of them were for touchdowns, and one of them resulted in an interception. It's just, it's not really what we're used to. We're used to guys like Devontae and, OGs like Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson always being reliable. But now Aaron's kind of forced to throw to guys that were undrafted, like, Darius Shepard, Jake Kumaro. It just makes me kind of want Aaron to guys that he can trust. Obviously, Mercedes Lewis is playing really good this year. I've been really impressed. And tight end buddy Jimmy Graham has been dropping a lot of balls. And with the wide receivers, Geronimo hasn't really showed up. He's been dropping a lot of passes. MVS, like you said, isn't super reliable. Just makes me miss Devontae. He's just kind of Aaron's security blanket.
Yeah, and the fact that we were able to come out with 2 wins without Devontae in the fold, that's really huge because our offense is really starting to click. Just if we had Devontae there, we'd just be firing on all cylinders, I feel like. So, I mean, the running game, we're just dominating right now. Whether it's Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams, we're getting yards, we're scoring. It's really nice to see right now. But I think the passing offense, like Aaron Rodgers, he's at his best right now, and that's throwing to guys that maybe he doesn't have as much trust in. So when Devontae comes back, I truly think he's just going to really become like that game changer that he always is, and the offense is going to be on another level. But for now, Rodgers is he's really not showing any hesitancy to throw to guys. Like, he'll throw to Shepard, he'll throw to Lazard, he'll throw to whoever. He's throwing to pretty much anybody right now because he knows, Adams isn't there, so somebody's got to go out and make a play. And that's been Mercedes Lewis, that's been Lazard, that's been Kumaro. He's been consistent enough to make catches and kind of move the chains. He hasn't been that deep threat that he was last year or in the preseason the last couple of years, but he is making catches. He's, like I said, he's the most sure-handed receiver on our team. So I think we can move along without Devontae against a Raiders secondary that is not great. But after that, we're going to need all the weapons we can get. I'm looking forward to the opportunity this week to kind of let these younger guys see what we truly have against a secondary that's not as good as the Lions. Maybe they'll start catching some footballs, and we could start really firing on all cylinders again on offense when Devontae comes back.
The fact that we're 2-0 without Devontae Adams against 2 really, really good teams is just amazing to me because you think about our offense right now. Who's our main weapon? Aaron Jones, who was bad on Monday night. I mean, who do we have? Jimmy Graham is a non-factor. Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, they're probably our 2 biggest weapons right now. Our run game is definitely our biggest weapon right now. You look at Matt LaFleur's game plan coming into the game. It was a lot of the same stuff we saw last week. A lot of run heavy. A lot of, when we did pass, it was a lot of passes to the running backs. We saw Jamal and Aaron Jones in the game at the same time a few times, like we did before Jamal got hurt against Philadelphia. So I think that's Matt LaFleur acknowledging that we got undrafted players everywhere at the wide receiver spots. Let's just beat them with our running backs. And Aaron Jones, like I said, didn't have the best game on Monday night, but Jamal Williams certainly did step up. He had over 100 yards on the ground, over 30 through the air, I'm pretty sure. He was the main guy on Monday night, and it's good to see when we don't have Devontae Adams that someone is going to step up who's not a tight end or a receiver.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur was kind of talking about that. He kind of just said, there's not a clear guy that we send out there to be the game plan guy for the week. Kind of just happened to be, Jamal that week. And the week before, Aaron Jones just kind of burst onto the scene that week. So he's really just he's gonna let the guy who wants to make plays, he's gonna let him go out there and make plays, and they're gonna do that week in and week out until Devontae comes back, until Geronimo comes back. So
I don't know how much I see that from LaFleur though. It seems like the past 2 weeks we've had clear game plans in mind about who we want to feature. Especially
LaFleur said he said, it wasn't the game plan to get Jamal the ball. It just that's how the game went. Obviously after Aaron Jones had that huge game, you would think maybe they'd give him the ball again, but it just turned out that Jamal was having a better day after Aaron Jones kind of had that fumble and then obviously that drop catch for a touchdown. Jamal kind of just got the opportunities after that and was able to get the ball going and run the ball really well. Had that huge run. So I mean, it's just LaFleur really just wants the guys to go out there, and whoever wants to take the opportunity is going to take it, and he's going to let them run with it.
I just want to say I was really wrong on Jamal Williams. I've always been an Aaron Jones stan. I really thought Aaron Jones was like the clear-cut better running back, but Jamal Williams really fits this offense, and him and Aaron Jones are one of the best running back duos in the league. I just want to say sorry.
I've been the same way. I've always had that same idea, like. Aaron Jones is the one cut runner who is a lot better of a runner, and Jamal's kind of that pass catching back. But Jamal is showing us this season that he's more than that. He's not only excellent out of the backfield catching passes, but he can run the football too. And it's great to see that because we've got two guys that can play really well out of the backfield. When one goes down, we got another guy that can go right in and execute the Matt LaFleur offense to a T. So. That's definitely a big boost that we have. I love it. I'm loving it right now.
Yeah, and another guy we really didn't expect to see on the field Monday was Allen Lazard. He really showed up in the fourth quarter when Aaron needed him. 4 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown on only 17 snaps. When, we didn't have Allison, we didn't have Adams for the whole game. Jimmy Graham wasn't catching anything. Darius Shepard was really struggling. Allen Lazard came in and he was the guy. I'm really excited to see if he can continue this because we really do need some help in our wide receiver room. And if he keeps up this play, he could be wide receiver 4 if Geronimo is healthy and MVS and Adams are all out there. He could be he could be that wide receiver 4 over Kumaro and Shepard. And I'm excited. He looked really good. He's a big guy, 6'5". He's really physical. He made a bunch of big clutch plays in that fourth quarter drive, and obviously that touchdown. I'm just excited to see if he can keep this going and he can have a key role in this offense.
Yeah, and you saw that physicality straight out the gate. He caught that ball, shoves his helmet right into the defender's face and is able to gain more yards, and that's just the aggression we don't have at the receiver position without Davante Adams there. And even with Davante Adams, we needed more of it. So he's been a great addition so far in terms of just production and just overall attitude. And I really like where he's at. Rodgers, obviously, big fan of him. Called him into the game, got him in the game, and made him make plays. And he dominated that fourth quarter and made a lot of big plays when we needed him to. And he's just another one of those guys that he emerges when we need him. And he wasn't obviously scripted to come out and make 5 catches, 6 catches, whatever he had, 4 catches. But he did, and he made a lot of impact plays, and he got that huge touchdown that helped win us the game. So you're talking about a young player who is trying to capitalize on a great big opportunity that he was able to do a lot of good things, on a primetime game, got a lot of, publicity for a really great game. And he's going to look to cement himself as one of Aaron Rodgers', up-and-coming weapons. And he's going to look to do that against a secondary that isn't that special in the Raiders.
I think that's the one thing he really has going for him, Lazard, is that he has Aaron's trust. I know people talk a lot about Rodgers trusting his receivers, but it kind of is a big deal because we've seen Rodgers kind of be hesitant to throw to guys like a Trevor Davis or a Jeff Janis. These are guys that I don't know what he sees in practice. The work ethic is a big thing for him, of course. So I don't know.
I feel like this week you didn't see him hesitate too much. I feel like he was just kind of throwing the ball to guys left and right, and he didn't really care. You know what I think? He must have felt like he was on this week because, you usually do see him kind of hesitate to throw to a guy even if he's open because you don't trust him to catch it. So that's where he starts to try to create his own plays and sometimes get into trouble by not throwing to the check down and. Then he's holding the ball for too long and you'd like him to just throw it. But he must have been feeling it. He must have just really thought he could fit the ball anywhere. Didn't care who he was throwing to. Knew he was just going to complete the ball. But yeah, I do think that's a big factor. But last week you didn't see that really. So I don't know if that has much to do with Devontae being out or whatever. But it was nice to see him just kind of launch the ball all over the place and make some beautiful throws.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, he went over to the sideline mid-game and told the receivers coach to put 13 in. Because, I mean, you go back to preseason when Lazard and Shepard both had really strong camps in preseason. Everyone was kind of on the Shepard train. Everyone was like, this kid needs to make the roster, good player. But then Rodgers talks about the receivers or whatever, and he's loving on Lazard a lot more than he did Shepard. And like I said, you don't really know what these guys do in practice. You don't know about the work ethic, but clearly Rodgers has seen something in Lazard since – I keep saying his name different ways. Whatever. Clearly Rodgers has seen something in Lazard that he really likes because, like you said, he didn't hesitate at all when throwing to Lazard, even on his first few snaps of the game when this guy's an undrafted free agent a year ago, and Rodgers is throwing him deep 50-50 balls, which he never does.
Yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit more, guys. The Lions game. It was just one of those games for me where I kind of felt like we were losing the entire time, which we were. But it kind of the polar opposite of the Seattle game last year, where I felt like we were winning the entire game and just kind of fell short at the end. And you just kind of just a really disappointing feeling where we really should have won that game. And it didn't say that. It felt like we won the game and it didn't say that on the record, on the standings. So, but this one was kind of the opposite, just like the rest of this season so far, kind of going the opposite from last year, and kind of things are starting to come our way a little bit in terms of, the luck and just the overall, just plays are going our way. But I think this game definitely felt like one that was going to be a loss up until the end, of course, when Mason Crosby came through and did it again for us, made a great kick. We were able to get it there. It was not a clean win. It wasn't a pretty win either, but we were able to get the job done. And that's all you can say, really. Just what, at the end of the day, what's on that column? Is it a win or is it a loss? And when it's a win, you got to be excited because we're sitting at 5-1, 3-0 in the division. You can't ask for more than that with a new head coach. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I'm excited. A lot of fans are kind of down. A lot of fans are kind of down on the fact that the referees made some questionable calls at the end there. But as a fan of our team and knowing what's happened to us over the course of the years with the referees, just having a win in that column, being 5-1, I'm really excited right now.
Yeah, this felt like a game that we definitely would have lost last year. This whole game, I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, okay, especially after the interception, I'm like, okay, it's pretty much over here. We're 4-2. Thinking about the division, I'm thinking about all that stuff, and then we just kind of pulled it out. A little bit of help from the refs, but like I said, it felt like a game we definitely would have lost last year. How many games last year did we lose within one score, within 7 points? I mean, it was like every single week we were in the game, and then something would happen and we'd lose it. I mean, it's great to see the team finally showing their resilience and pulling out a victory of a game they maybe should have lost. Like I said, a little bit of help from the refs, but I mean, control what you can control, and I think we would win regardless of those two terrible calls.
Rodgers was on. He was just on fire. He was even on those drop balls. He was putting the ball in absolutely perfect spots. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I just feel like Rodgers was having one of those nights where he's just gonna win the game, whatever it takes, however many quarters, overtime, whatever it takes. He's gonna get the job done. Like, the stats didn't say, obviously, how good he played. He was just unbelievable. He is back. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This guy is the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's playing like it. Don't look at the stats. He's not a stat guy anymore. He is about playing football at a high level. And I'm telling you, he is the best to do it right now. Just watch last week's game, and it's only going to get better from here once Devontae Adams comes back.
That's so funny because, Packer fans have kind of like all of Rodgers' career have been like, stats are more important than QB wins. And I believe that. Wins aren't a quarterback stat. It's just a fact. But watch the game Monday night. Aaron Rodgers won us that game. Wins aren't a quarterback stat, but Aaron Rodgers won us that game.
Look at the difference between Aaron Rodgers throwing the football and Tom Brady throwing the football. Just watch the games. Watch the Patriots game. Watch a Patriots game, and just tell me you don't enjoy Tom Brady throw a nice 5-yard pass, go for 70-yard touchdown, or watch Aaron Rodgers launch deep balls all over the field. I don't know. I'm just saying, just watch the football games. Don't look at the stats. Forget QBR. Forget all the stats.
QBR.
Look at those two quarterbacks play and tell me what you think. That's all I'm saying.
100%. The fact that Aaron, there was only 4 healthy wide receivers going in that fourth quarter, and the Packers were down 9 points. He led a fourth quarter comeback down two possessions with Darius Shepard, Alan Lazard, Jake Kumaro, and MVS. He didn't have his wide receiver 1 and he didn't have his wide receiver 2. He led a 6-minute, 46-second drive all the way down to 2 seconds with literally nobody. He was crazy that drive. That Mercedes Lewis throw, the Jimmy Graham throw, and all those Alan Lazard catches. It was just so impressive. He is the GOAT. It's not even close. And I hate how people debate that it's Tom Brady. And just watch the game. That was primetime TV right there. I hope everyone saw it. I don't care that drive got saved by the first hands to the face call. That was actually a legitimate penalty. Lots of screenshots on Twitter I saw. He had his hand on the neck. But still, it's just crazy. Aaron Rodgers, we are very blessed here in Green Bay to be able to watch this, and I'm going to cry my eyes out when that time comes and we have to move on. But that was vintage Aaron Rodgers right there.
It was, and I don't know what's changed from last year. I don't know if it was the injury or the coaching, but he looks so much different. He looks so much more mobile, obviously because of the knee injury, but he looks so much more accurate, especially down the field. He looks so much more comfortable in the pocket. I mean, the O-line has improved. I think our surroundings have gotten better. He's gotten better health-wise, and he's definitely playing like MVP Aaron Rodgers again. I wish there was a way to like quantify how well he's played, because our first instinct as Packer fans, as being Rodgers fans, is to throw out the stats because he's got amazing stats throughout his entire career. But when we're not able to do that, it's so hard to win these like kind of quarterback debates, because I mean, a lot of people would probably put him outside the top 5 right now. Obviously, I wouldn't, but a lot of people would do that because he doesn't have great stats. So I wish there was a way, just like PFF grades. I guess that's the closest thing. He had an 89 on Monday night, but those aren't always reliable. I've always been against like just looking at PFF grades alone. But man, this guy.
All right. Listen to this. Ready? He said it 2 weeks ago. I don't care about the stats anymore. I just want to win. He said that. What does that tell you? That just tells you that if he's not getting 4 touchdowns a game and 300 yards, if we're winning the game, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. If fans don't want to watch the football games and just want to look up the stats and then rank quarterbacks by stats, they can go and do that. Rodgers isn't in the top 5 in stats. He's not in the top 10 in stats. And it doesn't matter because he's in the top 5 in wins. And right now, wins are all that matters. Obviously, he is not the sole part of winning the football game, but we have wins, and it's because he's playing well. It's because our offense is playing well, and it's because our defense is playing well. We don't need validation anymore. We know how good he is. We don't need to prove it to anybody else. Now it's time to start winning, and we're going to do whatever it takes. Maybe it's not throwing the football every single play. We're running the football with a run-heavy scheme, and it's working, and we're winning football games. No more stats. Let's just win.
That's the thing that are bringing his stats down. It's the rushing success. We're having so much success on the ground, and like we said, we don't have a single real weapon in the passing game right now. So those are definitely bringing his stats down. We saw the drop passes and all the drop touchdowns, really. So I mean, it's a lot of eye test with Aaron right now to win these quarterback debates. It's a lot of watch the game. If you watch the game, you know how good Aaron Rodgers is, and it seems like the past 3 weeks especially, he's an MVP candidate. We mentioned it a few weeks ago how we think he's not completely out of the MVP race quite yet, since we're winning games, and fans always put the wins on the quarterbacks. And I think we went primetime Thursday night, 4:25, America's Game of the Week. week 5, and then we went Monday night again. So I think a lot of people are kind of realizing, especially the national media now, are kind of realizing how good Aaron's playing this year and how little he has to work with right now in the passing game.
I'm just saying, no other quarterback in the NFL makes that Allen Lazard throw.
Nope.
That was insane.
That was like a drop in the bucket. Lazard he had like half a yard of separation, I think, and he's hugging the sideline real tight. That was a drop in the bucket. I don't even know how he did that.
1 out of every 10 Packers fans knows who Allen Lazard is before this football game, and 1 out of every 5 million football fans knows who Allen Lazard is before this football game.
I mean,
what does that tell you? Aaron Rodgers is he'll throw to McDonald's workers. It doesn't matter. Rodgers is going to hit whoever he wants. Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's proven it every week. Don't look at the stats. I'll say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. He is the best quarterback in football. And it's only going to get better because the stats they may start to go up with Devontae Adams coming back, and because now this offense is starting to roll. He's found his rhythm, and like right before Adams was injured, we didn't get that. After the loss to Philadelphia that's when we're starting to move a little bit more. So I think when Adams comes back, that's when we're going to start heating up, and we're going to become unbeatable on offense.
I've seen a lot of mostly insecure Patriots fans. I've seen a lot of them calling him, game manager. He's a game manager now. But it's the perfect mix of game manager. Sure, he's been a game manager at some points in the games. He also still has the Aaron Rodgers throws, like the Lazard touchdown or the MVS throw or the drop Jimmy Graham touchdown or a million throws this season that some haven't even been completed, but he still has those splash plays. He still looks like a generational talent. The stats aren't there, as we've said. The stats definitely aren't there, but he's playing like an MVP right now.
His only starting weapon out there right now is Jimmy Graham, and I don't know what you guys think about what he's played like recently, but
yeah, let's talk about Jimmy Graham, because I've got a bone to pick with Jimmy Graham. I am so sick of this dude.
Wow. Unbelievable.
30 times a game, this guy makes me want to blow my brains out. I scream at the television at this guy several times per game. I cannot stand him. I want him off the field.
Well, what did you think of that nice catch that Rodgers kind of, it was a little bit of an in and out route. Jimmy Graham comes around, gets the open.
Yeah, that was a nice
catch. Makes a nice catch. Well, guess
what?
I thought
that was a catch. That was a catch that we're paying him for. And we get one of those every 4 games with Jimmy Graham.
Well, he's got a couple touchdowns in the red zone. He's supposed to be a touchdown, end zone weapon.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. And he'll put it together. Sure. He had those plays in what was it, Philly? He had a couple near touchdowns. He'll get it together. I think he's going to get it together. Mm-hmm. He showed some nice blocking ability a couple games ago. I think he's just got to find his role.
We've been saying he's going to get it together since week 1 of 2018.
Exactly.
I'm done.
I just give him some time. This is a new
offense.
We've
given him time. We've given him here in 6 weeks.
Everybody was in shambles last year with Mike McCarthy, and and then we lost Mike McCarthy, and it was a whole thing last year. I'm going to excuse everybody's performance last year. This year, we're 6 weeks in, and he's still learning this now, another brand new offense after learning the brand new offense last year. So I just give him a little bit more time. Okay. He's flashing some plays of his former self.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No,
he's caught 2 touchdowns in the red zone.
Okay.
He's got 2 touchdowns, and he's making some nice catches.
I truly believe those are fluke plays. The one in Chicago was a free play, and I think Rodgers was trying to throw a drop.
He's making blocks. He's blocking in the run and pass game.
Okay. Let's not go that far. He's making blocks. He's gotten better at making blocks. But what does Jimmy Graham do well?
That was never his job. We never signed him on to come on and play tight end on a run blocking tight end. He's never been that. That's what Mercedes is supposed to be doing. Mercedes can block. Jimmy Graham never came in as a design guy that's going to come in and block for us in the run game. He's always been a vertical threat. He was never a blocker.
So Jimmy Graham,
you can't expect him to come in and all of a sudden change his game. He's here to catch passes.
And he doesn't do that. That's the thing.
He's not getting many targets right now. There's nobody to take away.
Because every time we target him, he drops it.
He drops some passes, but there's nobody taking any attention away from him right now.
there's not a thing Jimmy Graham does well. He doesn't run block, although he's gotten better the last 2 weeks, I guess. And by gotten better, I mean he's actually like trying. He doesn't run block. He doesn't have any run after the catch ability. He doesn't catch 50-50 balls in the red zone, which is what we're paying him to do. He doesn't create separation. He's not fast. He doesn't break any tackles. I'm just so sick of it. And he's only on the field because we're paying him $11.5 million this season.
It's just the upside, man. Everybody remembers OG Jimmy Graham with the Saints. I think that's just what we kind of were expecting. Obviously he's aged, but I feel like that's why he's out there, because there's probably still some of that, like 2012 Jimmy Graham in him. It's been a year and a half and we haven't seen it. So I don't know what to think.
I just think we have to just kind of, keep bringing him along. He'll fit in his role. And if we keep using him, in the red zone near the goal line, I think that's going to keep working out because he's getting a lot of opportunities there. He'll start to come down with more of them. And the fact that he has 2 nice touchdowns now, it's at least that's nice to see. And he is making some nice catches. He's dropping a lot of balls too. It'll come together. He just needs a little bit more time with Aaron. When the offense is starting to roll, when Adams is back, take some of the attention away. Because right now, teams are looking at him as the primary option down the middle, like every single play. He's the guy that they have to worry about. And after that, who is it? Nobody. So when Adam comes back, takes off some pressure, when we have some semblance of a healthy offensive, like passing attack, I think that's when you'll start to see Jimmy Graham get some more opportunities, and he'll come down with a lot more of them too. He's motivated right now. He's trying to prove people wrong. He hates the media. He doesn't like to talk after games. So I just think that you have to give him a little bit more time. He's very motivated, and I think he's going to be able to get it done. You got to ride with the guy until we can't anymore. He's on our team. You got to support him, and you got to come out and I think he's going to play well. I do think he's going to play well. I trust him, and I think I trust Rodgers to get him the ball, and they're both going to come down with balls, and it's going to be good.
I am of the exact opposite opinion, but we'll just agree to disagree. This is something that me and Bron go around and around all the time. I'm not a big Jimmy Graham guy. Not at all. I wish he would play significantly less snaps, but we're paying him a lot of money. You know what? He's injured, right? Right? He's injured?
He comes out and plays with injuries every single week. He's always dealing with injuries, but he comes out and plays with them because he's a leader.
And he's playing bad. He's playing bad objectively. Objectively speaking, he's playing poorly.
You have this high standard. Like, he's playing fine. He's just not getting many targets. You expect him to come in and block when he's never blocked in his career.
He's a tight end. Well, I don't expect him to come in and be a road grader. I expect him to come in and try, which is what he's been doing the last 2 weeks. And great. I'm glad he's trying, but is he better than Mercedes Lewis? No.
You can't say that he's not based on a couple of games.
I can say he's not based on a year and 6 weeks.
Factor in checks too.
Are you factoring in the blocking ability there?
I'm factoring in value to an offense. When Jimmy Graham is in,
sure, yeah, because Jimmy Graham is not going to come in and block on a run.
Okay, even on pass plays, I'd rather throw to Mercedes Lewis. I think he's a more sure-handed catcher of the football. He's got a stronger catching ability. Jimmy Graham will get any pass broken up. If a defender comes within 2 feet of him, he's going to drop it.
He had that one nice play where he got hit multiple times coming down with the ball, and he still caught it.
Like I said, that was a nice play. I'm glad he made that play.
So
but you can also point to 3 other plays where he's just bad. He's just bad as a receiver, and we're paying him to be this big wide receiver, and he's bad at it. He doesn't add any value.
I get that he has to play better if he wants to make the money that he's supposed to be making next year. But let's just ride with him for now. And if he starts truly playing awful, where he's like just dropping blatant balls right in front of him, then let's talk about moving on. But for now, we have to ride with him because he's going to be, regardless, because he's making so much money, he's going to be the starting tight end. And let's just rally around him and hope he plays well. That's all I'm saying. Because
I hope
he can play well. He's played well in games. He's had a couple of good games over the course of his career with Green Bay. He just needs to play better, and he will. As soon as we get rolling, it's coming. When Adams is back, when we get rolling, it's going to come, and he's going to start playing better.
All right, let's get off of Jimmy Graham, and let's talk about the defense on Monday night, because that was a really inspiring showing from the defense, especially after the first quarter. Detroit racked up all those yards in the first quarter, and it looked like it was going to be kind of brutal for the Packers, but the defense really tightened up and kind of shut the Lions offense down completely. You look at guys like Jair Alexander, who had another great game after struggling versus Dallas. He had one of his best games of the year. He only gave up one catch for 3 yards, and it was to a running back. He had a great game. Dean Lowry had a really, really solid game. Probably the best game he's played in his entire career, maybe. I don't really know. Certainly this year, he played out of his mind. He was destroying the Lions' interior offensive line. He was disrupting in the run game. He was kind of that force we needed going against a back like Kerryon Johnson. And we've struggled against the run all year. It's been well documented. So we need a guy like Dean Lowry to kind of step up against a good running back like Johnson. And then Kenny Clark in the middle at nose tackle. He's been having a pretty down year compared to his other seasons in Green Bay. But he's been injured. He's been on the injury report. He actually didn't practice recently because of a calf injury. So I think it's fair to say that's why he's been struggling. But Dean Lowry, just played a great game.
Yeah, Dean definitely was a large part of the fact that our run defense held Kerryon to less than 60 yards rushing. So, Kenny Clark he's playing obviously still at a high level, but just not at that level where he was just, eating everybody alive last year. So hopefully he gets back to full health in these coming weeks, and then our run defense will improve, and Dean Lowry and Kenny Clark can kind of hold it down with Tyler Lancaster, Montravius Adams. So those are guys that we have a lot of confidence in. So hopefully they can kind of all get healthy and keep doing what they're supposed to do, and they'll keep getting better each week.
Yeah, and Preston and Zadarius Smith continue their hot streak. Them and Kyler Fack will combine for 3 sacks, and all 3 of those sacks were on third down. And also, without Darnell Savage, Will Redmond's been playing pretty good. Just the only mess up I saw that he had was that 66-yard Kenny Golladay catch. But, the defense is really rallying around each other. It's just a good thing to see.
Yeah, and even on that completion, it was a flea flicker. He bit hard on the flea flicker, but you can't really expect him to do much more against a flea flicker. It's meant to kind of exploit the safety like that single high. But yeah, Will Redmond has been pretty impressive. So is Chandon Sullivan. He had that pick against Dallas, and he had another pretty solid game. He's actually ahead of Josh Jackson on the depth chart. Josh Jackson didn't see a single snap from scrimmage on Monday night, which is pretty insane. I don't know if it speaks more to how well Chandon's been playing or how poorly Jackson's been playing. He played all right for Dallas. I don't know.
Well, when Jackson got hurt and he kind of missed most of the preseason and that whole offseason program in training camp, that kind of put him behind a lot of the other guys like Chandon Sullivan, who was there playing, and Will Redmond, who was there playing, and all these other corners, Kadar Holman even. So he'll get back into the fold eventually, I would think. I mean, he's got a lot of talent, and he was in a lot of, he had a lot of opportunities to make plays last year and just couldn't come down with them a lot of the time. So I think he will get back into the fold as he kind of just gets a little more comfortable and, is just getting in his own rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. And another guy on defense, B.J. Goodson. We traded for him before the season started from the Giants. He's been pretty solid. He's kind of like that Antonio Morrison player that we had last year, where he's not really great in pass coverage. He can be easily exploited in pass coverage, actually, but he's a real thumper in the run game, and he'll get down there. He had a really nice play where he kind of filled the gap and just drove Kerryon Johnson backwards like a couple yards. You've just been seeing a lot of that from Goodson, and it's good to see. I don't know, with Oren Burks coming back, maybe Goodson's going to see less playing time as Burks gets healthier and more playing time. But I
think it's clear that they've kind of emphasized the fact that they need to stop the run, and that's where you put in and Goodson received the majority of the snaps in base. So I think it's pretty clear that they're looking to stop the run here, and obviously Goodson, that's kind of his specialty, while like Oren Burks is more that pass defending middle linebacker, kind of a counterpart to Blake Martinez. But it's clear they're looking to get 2 guys in there that can really stop the run at a high level, and B.J. Goodson's doing a good job of that right now.
It was just good to see the run defense, play from behind and actually stop the running backs, unlike we saw in Philadelphia. The Lions got up to a 13-point lead, and, they probably did plan on establishing the run with Kerryon Johnson, but the Packers really held him. He only had 34 yards on 13 carries, and, holding the Lions offense to, settle for field goals allowed us to get back into the game. And it was just good to see because, the one main, thing that we saw offenses attack against the Packers defense was our rush defense. And it was just good to see them step up and play a really good game.
And like you said, we didn't really get to that game plan that we like to on defense a lot of time. We didn't get out to an early lead and force Stafford to beat us. They got out to the 13-point lead, and we were still able to shut them down. The Lions rushing attack they're not world beaters up front. We faced a lot of great rushing teams early in the season, but the Lions' offensive line was banged up, missing both their tackles, I'm pretty sure. And that was just a good display from our run defense, taking advantage of an inferior opponent. Pass defense, too. I mean, we beat a couple times deep, especially early in the game, but that's just kind of how our secondary plays. They're very aggressive. They're going to try and attack the football. And sometimes I think the Lions did a great job taking advantage of that early in the game with the flea flicker, obviously, and a couple double moves. And Galladay is a really tough cover for anyone. And Kevin King got beat a couple times by Galladay. But overall, I think it was a really, really strong display from the defense as a whole.
It was good to see Jair bounce back after kind of having a rough game against Amari Cooper. I know he wasn't on Kenny Galladay the whole game, but he really shut down Marvin Jones. He only had 2 catches and 17 yards. And as you said, the only catch that was Jair's responsibility was the 3-yard catch to their backup running back, McKissick. It was just good to see him bounce back. He's really looking like a potential top 5 corner by the end of this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, overall, the defense put out a really great performance for us when we needed it most, and hopefully they can do that again against the Raiders this Sunday, who will actually be talking about that game right now. What are you guys looking for, in terms of matchups and player versus player opportunities for us?
I don't know about specific player versus player, but I think our defense is going to match up really well against Oakland's offense. Like I said, our defense is very aggressive. They're attacking the football, especially underneath and against short routes. And Derek Carr actually has the fewest air yards per attempt in the entire NFL. He's above 70 completion percentage, which is a stat that's been thrown around a lot. But if you look at it in context, if you ever watch the Raiders play, a lot of it is very much like easy completions, checkdowns, underneath routes, all that kind of stuff. And I think if we've seen this season, if you're going to beat the Packers defense, it's going to be it's going to be deep. You're going to have to attack them, exploit their aggressiveness with double moves, with flea flickers, anything you can think of, because that's really the only way you can beat our secondary, especially guys like Jair Alexander or Kevin King.
You're exactly right about that. And, our defense, it really thrives when we're playing closer to the line of scrimmage because of how physical we got guys like Jair Alexander, Adrian Amos and Kevin King, 3 physical guys that want to keep the play close to the line of scrimmage, check guys up at the line. And that's what we do best. We have a lot of guys who want to come in and make tackles close to the line of scrimmage. But then, on a lot of deep passes, that's where teams start to kill us, and not kill us, but they can take advantage of some of the weaker spots. Like, when we have Will Redmond out there playing deep, there are going to be some opportunities for the team to come and make a big play. So I definitely like the matchup because Derek Carr is not a deep ball threat for us, and all their receivers, like us, they're going to not have many receivers to throw to next week. So definitely an advantageous matchup for our defense versus this Raiders offense.
How crazy would it be if the Packers came into this week with Allen Lazard as their wide receiver 1 and the Raiders came into this week with Trevor Davis as their wide receiver 1? That would be nuts. That's what it's looking like right now with MVS, Geronimo, and Devontae just got ruled out. We don't know Geronimo probably isn't going to play. We don't know about MVS. So, yeah, both teams on offense are looking pretty slim.
Yeah, the Raiders receivers are just as banged up as we are. So, at least we're not going to be completely handicapped compared to the Raiders.
Yeah, and it looks like both teams are going to have to focus on running the football, and they've got that young rookie over there, Josh Jacobs, who's been impressive, he's been a little bit inconsistent, but he's been impressive when they need him to be. He was huge in the win against the Bears last week. So, and Green Bay, they've been running the ball extremely well right now. The Raiders' run defense has played well so far this year, but the talent, it's not as, it doesn't jump off the page, but they've been playing well. So, Chicago couldn't get anything going in the run game with Chase Daniel at quarterback, and hopefully we can do that with our two guys, Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. That seems like how it's going to have to be, at least for in the coming weeks. When we have to win games, we're going to have to run the football early and often, and that allows Aaron Rodgers to kind of be able to do the play action passing, a lot of the run pass options, and that's kind of what opens up our offense. So we're going to live and die by the run, and we're going to have to live by it this week against a good Raiders defense and not a very good Packers receiving core at the moment.
Every week it seems like there's that guy on offense who kind of takes over the game. And who do you guys think that's going to be this week? I'm leaning towards the easy answer is Alan Lazard, right? Coming off that big game against Detroit. So we could see him. I think he's going to get a lot more playing time after last week, and maybe Darius Shepard sees a lot less after last week. I'd probably go with Alan Lazard as kind of the takeover performance of the game. What about you guys?
For me, it'd have to be Jake Kumerow. He had a lot of opportunities last week to, get in the game and play a significant amount of snaps. He ended up practically starting for us and finishing the game as one of our top 3 receivers on the depth chart. But he didn't have any splash plays like he usually does when he's on the field. He kind of lives by those splash plays, those just deep balls, and he's got the best hands of anybody on the team, like I've said. Yeah, I think this is the week where he finally kind of makes a big play for us and has a big game like we've seen him do when he does come in the football game. So, yeah, Alan Lazard did play really well last week. I don't know how much playing time he's actually going to get. I would like to think that MVS would play because he was able to enter the game again last week after leaving for a little bit. But he's dealing with both an ankle and a knee injury right now, so I'm not sure how likely that's going to be. But if MVS can't go, and obviously if Geronimo and Devontae Adams both are out, so I do think Jake Kumerow is that guy.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of looking at the running backs here. Hopefully, it honestly depends how this game goes. Hopefully, we can get a good mix of Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams going. And, who knows if Geronimo can't go and we know Devontae isn't going. And if MVS can't go, like how possible is it that Aaron could legit carry an offense by himself with, Alan Lazard, Darius Shepard, Jake Kumerow, and as his only weapons. So that's why I'm kind of looking at Aaron Jones here and Jamal Williams. We could kind of see it like turning into a Cowboys type game where the Packers get up to an early lead thanks to the run game. Or, we could see it like turn into last week Monday where Aaron is forced to throw and, he creates more magic. And I would love to see Alan Lazard kind of pop off. He looked very good Monday night, and I'm excited to see him in like a significant role. He's another guy. I'm with you there, Griff. I would like to see him be the focal point of this offense.
Ryan Grant too. He was just signed, so I don't know how much playing time he's going to get because you've got to think he doesn't really know the playbook at this point. But the Raiders slot cornerback Joyner, he's been pretty terrible this season, really. So I think if we could get Grant in the game, just run something easy like a quick slant or a slot fade, something like that, to just exploit Joyner with the speed. Maybe Shepard too. I don't know how much they're going to trust Shepard after last week, but I think that's going to be a matchup that the Packers will exploit more than once.
Yeah, it's going to look like a position that we're going to have to be in is we're going to have to run the ball early and often, and we're going to have to score at least a touchdown early, kind of make the Raiders, have to throw the football. That's really what we've kind of said about every team we've faced, but against this defense that we have here, we're going to kind of have to make them throw it and kind of avoid a running battle with a young upstart like Josh Jacobs. Although I think we could win that kind of running battle, I do think it'd be best to make Derek Carr kind of throw the football here. So we definitely have to get off to a hot start, whether that be throwing early and kind of, whether Rodgers connects with Jimmy Graham, Kumerow, or Lazard. But I definitely think we have to get off to a hot start once again.
Yeah, and the Raiders were able to beat the Bears 2 weekends ago, and that was thanks to Josh Jacobs. The Bears have a really good defense, and the Raiders were able to jump out to a 17-point lead by halftime. And, Josh Jacobs was able to, kind of carry the workload. He had 26 carries for 123 yards on one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. So, I do think we have to jump out to a lead here and at least, try to make Derek Carr throw because we know, Derek Carr isn't really known as a a conservative quarterback. We can force him into turnovers. So, yeah, we definitely have to jump out to a lead here.
And that's kind of the style of offense the Raiders play. You know, we saw it a lot versus Indianapolis and Chicago, both in games in which they won. They run the ball a lot, and then they throw those short, easy completions that is kind of an extension of the run game. So if we can get out to an early lead, as we've said, like every episode of this podcast, if we can get out to an early lead, force them to go off their script, kind of play a style of offense that they're not really comfortable to, then I think that's a great recipe for success. And as for the defense, I think the Raiders' starting tackle hasn't been practicing this week. So if he can't go, it's the third straight week we're going up against backup tackles, Zadarius and Preston Smith. I think that's going to be huge too. You know, Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith have both been really, really great this season. They're both in the top 5 in sacks. They've both got to be up there for quarterback pressures and quarterback hurries. So I think it's gonna come down to those two again for the third straight week, taking advantage of a backup offensive lineman.
Yeah, and the Raiders, they've got a solid tight end who they kind of just locked up to a contract. Darren Waller, he's been playing really well for them. So you'd like to think that he kind of gets a lot of the targets, and hopefully, you know, whoever's covering him, whether it be Amos or B.J. Goodson or Blake Martinez out there, you know, whoever's covering can do a good job in stopping pretty much their only true kind of proven passing weapon so far this year.
We haven't given up a ton to tight ends this season. I mean, which tight end in the first 6 weeks has had a truly great game? Zach Ertz had a pretty solid game, I guess, but we kind of match up tight ends with our safeties and sometimes dime and nickel cornerbacks. We're not going to put Blake Martinez on a tight end that we know he can't cover, or even B.J. Goodson, you know. We're not going to put Blake Martinez in bad situations like that if we don't have to.
Well, we've seen him go out there and cover guys. I mean, Blake's not, you know, foreign to covering guys out of the backfield or covering, you know, tight ends in line. So he can definitely do it. And, you know, he's obviously a great run stopper, and that's kind of his game. But he can go out there and cover guys when we need him, and that's the great thing about Blake.
Yeah, but that's really the real weakness in his game. So all season, even go back to last season, we really don't put him in those situations because we know the offense is just going to try and exploit that matchup. So we tend to put Amos. Amos a lot of time does get the tight end or the running back out of the backfield, which I like because he's really strong in man coverage.
Yeah, guys, how about Trevor Davis? He's looking pretty good in that Raiders offense. They've been using him as a wide receiver, and they've been using him on sweeps. And he had that long touchdown. I think it was against the Colts, and you know they're kind of using him how I wish the Packers used him. He's a very fast wide receiver, and we're missing him on special teams too, as we saw Darius Shepard kind of have a lot of troubles last week against the Lions. What do you guys think about Trevor?
Trevor's been playing really well for Oakland, and it's kind of sour to see that, you know, when we thought he could do that for us, especially after he had a really, really solid preseason and training camp where we thought he could start contributing more, you know, in the passing game as well. And he did have a catch or two in the Chicago game, and he made some nice plays, but his kick return game really, really went down in a bad area for us, and we had to kind of make some moves there, and it made sense because we were able to get a 6th round pick for him, and you know, kind of returning what we got him for in terms of draft capital. So I don't really mind moving on at this point. We definitely have to play better, whether it's Darius Shepard back there or Tremont Smith in the coming weeks. But we definitely have to be better on special teams, and that's definitely right now the weakness of our team because we've seen a couple miscues per game in the last few weeks. And with Darius Shepard out there was more than a few. So definitely need to improve there, and hopefully we can stop Trevor Davis because he's going to be all over the field this week.
Seeing Trevor Davis in Oakland is kind of like, and then seeing us so depleted at the wide receiver position kind of makes you think, what was Gutekunst really thinking with that? I mean, 6th round pick, really? Trevor Davis, I mean, he provides so much value to a team more than just special teams. We've seen it in Oakland. He's kind of their number one receiver with Tyrell Williams being out. Yeah, we could really use Trevor Davis right now.
I just don't think Goot kind of put the injuries into consideration. Obviously, I think he got traded after the Vikings game, so everybody was healthy. And I think that same week we we claimed Tremont Smith. So I feel like Goot's plan was, Tremont Smith be that return guy, and Darius Shepard maybe come in on offense and take over the Trevor Davis role. It obviously didn't work out.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense. Like, having a guy who was just kind of floating out there on waivers, Tremont Smith, who was one of the best kick returners last year, to be able to flip Trevor for a 6th-round pick and kind of just like plug in guys to fill his void. The special teams was the defensive special teams was probably the void where we kind of discussed that it'd be difficult to kind of fill his void as a gunner, but we figured that having Tremont Smith, who has a lot of experience there, come in and return kicks, and Darius Shepard punts possibly, we figured that would kind of like fill his void. But so far, the injuries have kind of made that trade look a little bit, less advantageous than we thought it would have. At the time, we thought it was a great trade at the time, but definitely looking back with all these injuries we have, it probably wasn't the right move.
Yeah, at the time, of course, Gutekunst didn't know about the injuries, and at least for myself, I was kind of thinking and I think he can offer a lot to this offense, and I'm hoping to see more of him. I hope Aaron Rodgers and Coach LaFleur don't completely bail on him because of one bad performance, which it doesn't seem like they're going to.
No, Rodgers knows how he practices. He knows, what he did this preseason, and one bad game, you can never just, and Matt LaFleur said this, you can never just, discount a guy for one bad game. So I definitely think Shepard will be involved. If they see some of the miscues early on, I think they'll pull him. But he'll definitely see some action this week, so he has a chance to kind of, correct his mistakes from last week, and hopefully, maybe he's that guy that emerges. Nobody thinks he's going to get opportunities, and then he comes out, makes a play, gets in rhythm, makes a few plays, gets a nice kick return, punt return, something along those lines, and he could be that big factor for us this week.
Yeah, and lucky for him, he is a wide receiver, and wide receiver is one of the slimmest positions on the roster right now. So, I bet a lot of Packer fans thought he was going to get cut after that Lions game, but I think we need him. I would love to give him a second chance here. It was like one of his first career games, probably his 3rd game. So, yeah, I want to see him get back out there and, give it another go.
Yeah, exactly. And I still think he's so talented as we've seen in training camp and preseason. He's got something no other receiver on the roster right now has, other than Ryan Grant. But we've on the roster right now, especially with Adams hurt, we've got a lot of guys who are built the same way, who have the same style of play, and are below average receivers. So I think that dynamic of the speed guy, the kind of shaky guy in the open field, I think that adds a lot. And like I said, we don't have anyone else who plays like that. So I can't imagine that they just take Shepard out of the game plan entirely after one bad performance.
Yeah, and with such a few amount of guys going out there for us, we definitely need we would need MVS to go if he can, and he's dealing with a couple injuries right now. But his deep threat ability, it's going to be huge because Rodgers, he's been really good on the deep balls this year. He has a passer rating of 127.1 on throws of 20 plus yards, and Oakland's kind of been one of those teams that's been one of the worst in the NFL in defending such throws. They're actually allowing a 138.9 passer rating versus those 20 plus air yard throws. So if MVS can play, he could have a huge impact as well because Oakland's just not a great defending team in terms of defending that deep ball that Rodgers really loves right now.
That's another reason I think Ryan Grant can make an immediate impact he doesn't really have to know all the intricacies of the offense right now. We put him in for maybe 10 or 15 snaps on Sunday. Just send him deep, send him on a slot go, a slot fade. I think we can definitely take advantage of Oakland's poor deep passing defense.
Yeah, I really think Lazard could kind of fill that Devontae Adams role, be that, Aaron's go-to guy. But on deep routes, I would love to see if MVS, like you said, Bron, if MVS was able to play, try to get those deep routes going and, see what Ryan Grant can do and see if Darius Shepard and Jake Kumaro can also play those roles. So, I'm excited to see, Ryan Grant try to fit in this offense. There's a lot to look forward to this week I know there's a lot of injuries, but, I'm excited to see these new guys, these young guys, try to fill these roles.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's exciting to be able to, have the opportunity to go 6-1. That would put us in a great spot. Some other teams like the Bears are playing the Saints this week. Lions are playing the Vikings. So the fact that one of those two teams is going to lose in each of those games, that puts us in a really nice spot, because at this point, if we're 6-1, and let's say Chicago goes and beats the Saints, that'll put them at 5-2, and that just puts us up one more spot on the ladder. And you always love division games, because then one of those teams has to lose. So, and the Vikings are playing well right now, and the Lions probably challenged us the most of any team. So it's nice to see those teams beat up on each other a little bit, and hopefully we can get that win and just keep going and keep moving forward.
Next week after the Raiders game, we got the Chiefs on Sunday night, and if you watch Thursday Night Football, obviously Patty Mahomes went down with I think it was a dislocated kneecap. So it's unfortunate. Obviously, everybody wanted to see a Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers matchup, but it makes it easier going to Arrowhead Stadium with the Chiefs are still a really good team without Patty Mahomes. They killed the Broncos last night, 30-6, I believe it was. So it's still going to be a good game, but it makes it easier without Patrick out there, and it just is really looking good for the Packers. Even after that week, they have the struggling Chargers. So, definitely got to get some wins here. And, if we go into the bye week with one or two losses, that we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's definitely you see that a lot of these games that we thought would be, we were circling on the schedule as games, that are going to be tough to win, games that we got to go out and win. It seems like a lot of those games are becoming increasingly easier, as time goes on. And this is actually a big game for the Raiders too, because if they can get a win here this week against us, that'll put them at 4-2, and they're right in the thick of it with the Chiefs, who will be without Mahomes. So they're going to have to string a few wins together here like they have been, and that'll be big for them, because they want to come out with this division lead too, with Mahomes out, kind of take advantage of that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just the opportunity to get some big wins. And going into the bye week, we could be 9-1, 8-2. That's incredible for us. After last year, we can get our win total from last year this week if we beat the Raiders with 6 wins. So that's just exciting, because we're only getting better too. So I don't know what you guys think about our upcoming schedule, but I think it's pretty favorable, and I'm excited.
Yeah, you look at it, and you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but we go Oakland, Kansas City without Pat Mahomes, the Chargers, who you said were definitely struggling, definitely not what everyone thought they would be coming into the year, and then we play the Panthers at Lambeau, which you could make an argument that the Panthers will be the toughest game before the bye week.
Yeah, they're definitely the hottest of those teams right now. They've been winning really well.
Yeah, for sure. But if we can get a chance to go into the bye week at 9-1 or even 8-2, like you said, that would just be so great for our chances in the NFC. And at that point, you could really start looking at the 1 seed. But we got Oakland this week, and as Matt LaFleur says, I'm just trying to go 1-0 this week.
And speaking of that 1 seed, after the bye week, we do play the 49ers in San Francisco. So, this run that we could go on it would be huge.
Staying in the Raiders game, it does have the feel, with all the receiver injuries, it does have the feel of the 2013 Browns game or the 2016 Falcons game, where Rodgers is playing with all these receivers who he doesn't really know, who are young, inexperienced, and Rodgers kind of has to put the whole team on his back and rely on the running game a bit more than he usually would, and that's kind of the feel this game has. But if we're going to talk about receivers, let's start talking about possible trade acquisitions that we could be making. Who are some of your guys' favorite guys that are rumored to be available right now?
Well, the two guys that everybody's talking about are Emmanuel Sanders and AJ Green, and it seems like it's becoming increasingly possible that both of those guys get traded. The Packers have been kind of surfacing in those rumors a little bit in reports, so it's kind of surprising, because it's not a move you would think the Packers would make. I know we're all still kind of getting used to being in all these talks with free agents and trades, but it's exciting, because if we can get a player like Emmanuel Sanders or AJ Green, both are dynamic receivers, and pairing one of those guys with Devontae Adams when he comes back, that'd be huge. And if we're able to get one of those guys, either this coming week or coming days, it'd be able to let Devontae take his time recovering so he doesn't get injured again, and then come playoff time, we'd have two dynamic guys on the outside. So yeah, I'd love to see both of those guys, depending on the price. I wouldn't give up more than a third for Sanders, and I would struggle to give up any more than a third for AJ Green. I don't know if that'll be able to do it, but I wouldn't give up any first round picks for those guys for sure.
Yeah, I feel like Emmanuel Sanders just makes too much sense. He's on the last year of his deal. He's on a pretty bad team in Denver. He's shown frustration after, not getting targeted. And the Packers really do need a slot receiver. Since Randall Cobb left in the offseason, we really haven't had like a true, solid slot receiver. It just makes too much sense. And, Emmanuel Sanders is a really good player. He's been a good player his whole career. I think he just hit 30, maybe a little older than that. I just feel like he's the perfect fit out of all those tradable wide receivers and any free agent that we could pick up.
I think Emmanuel Sanders makes much more sense for the Broncos than AJ Green does for the Bengals. I don't really see why the Bengals would trade AJ Green. They've said that they're not going to trade him. That's a new head coach, new scheme. They're kind of a rebuilding team right now with a lot of young talent. I don't know why they would trade him. But Emmanuel Sanders, John Elway's also said that they're not going to trade Emmanuel Sanders. But as we see on Thursday night, the Broncos just look atrocious on offense this year. The offense can't really move the ball. There are a lot of suspect play calling. Emmanuel Sanders has to be unhappy, and he's in the last year of his deal, like you said. So if they're not going to plan on re-signing him, you'd think they'd want some kind of value for him, But John Elway is not a competent GM, so you never really know with John Elway what he's going to do, if he's going to make the right decisions. But yeah, for Emmanuel Sanders, I definitely give up a third-round pick, but a fourth-round pick would be ideal, and I think a fourth-round pick would get it done.
Yeah, and I think Emmanuel Sanders is definitely more likely to be traded than AJ Green, just because I don't know how attractive AJ Green is coming off injuries and things like that, and his price is probably more than Sanders. I think teams like the idea of trading for a guy who's gonna be coming off his deal this year, and just like a rental for a playoff run. So I think that's kind of like the perfect fit for us, because not only all this contract situation, it fits really well, but he's a very versatile player, and he can play both. Like Mason said, he can do a lot of damage in the slot, and he can also beat guys on the outside. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking for when it comes to the trade deadline. But another guy I'm looking at is Mohamed Sanu from Atlanta. They're kind of struggling right now too, and they've got Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones kind of outperforming Sanu. So I definitely think Sanu would be a nice pickup. I don't know what he would cost, probably around the similar value that Emmanuel Sanders would come in at, because I think Mohamed Sanu still has a couple of years left on his deal. So he would probably come in around a third or fourth round pick, and I'd be willing to do either of those, I would say.
Mohamed Sanu knows the offense really well too. He was there in 16 with Shanahan as the offensive coordinator and LaFleur as the quarterback coach. And obviously we all know LaFleur comes from the Shanahan coaching tree. And we saw Mohamed Sanu do some real damage in those years with Shanahan. So I think if he came to Green Bay, he would make an immediate impact for us.
Yeah, AJ Green and Emmanuel Sanders are the more attractive options if you're looking to trade for a wide receiver. But, if you want some younger guys, we can look at, three of these Dolphin wide receivers: Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson. Looking at Devontae Parker, he was a former first-round pick. He got picked 14th overall in 2015. He's only 26. He's a big body receiver. He's 6'3", 216, and he's never. And all these receivers have never really had sustainable quarterback play. They've been playing with Ryan Tannehill their whole careers, and then Ryan Tannehill has had a couple of injuries, and they've had to deal with Matt Moore and Brock Osweiler. So if you really want to unleash a wide receiver's full potential, put him with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and see if it works. If you got to give up like a 5th round, 6th round pick for one of these guys, I say do it. I say do it.
Yeah, for sure. I really like all three of those guys. I think they'd all fit in the offense well, and they'd be a nice second option for Rodgers while Devontae's out. But a couple other guys I'm looking at are both on the Rams. There's kind of a bit of a logjam at receiver there. I'm looking at Brandon Cooks, who's not really getting many opportunities, and I'm looking at Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is a guy who's still on his rookie deal. He's their 4th receiver. So either one of those guys makes a lot of sense. Brandon Cooks obviously is that downfield speed, lethal guy, the deep threat. So I think he'd be a great fit. He's making This year he's making $1 million, and next year he's making $8 million, and he's got another 3 years on his deal with the Rams. So he's got a long contract, and there's a lot of money on his deal. So I don't know what we'd be willing to pay there. They'd probably ask for, I would say a second round pick for Brandon Cooks, and I don't know, with his contract, may not be worth it. I think the more valuable asset for us would be a guy like Josh Reynolds, who has done nicely in LA with the Rams and Jared Goff, and he's their fourth guy there. He'd probably cost around, another guy who would cost around a fourth, fifth, or third round pick, somewhere around there. So I think any of those guys that we've talked about would be nice additions to the Packers wide receiver room amid some injuries.
Some of my favorite guys from the guys you just brought up would probably be Jakeem Grant from Miami or Josh Reynolds from LA. I think Brandon Cooks would just be too expensive for us. I mean, cap-wise, he's got a huge contract that he's not really living up to. But
yeah, he'd be too expensive, towards our cap and towards our draft capital. I think he'd cost a lot. So that may not be the perfect fit for us. I mean, scheme-wise, he fits really well, but in terms of what it would take to get him, might not be the guy we're looking for.
Yeah, and then with Reynolds and Grant, I think those are two guys who are ascending players who haven't really reached their peak yet, whereas Cooks and maybe Devontae Parker, we kind of know what we're going to get from them. Cook seems to kind of be on the back nine of his career. I think the Packers are destined to make a move before the trade deadline. I don't think we can really roll with these guys we have for much longer, especially with Devontae out. We don't really know how long he's going to be out, but even with Devontae, I think another option at wide receiver would be huge for us. I think it'd add a real dynamic to our passing game, make the whole operation just run a whole lot smoother than it is right now.
Yeah, and if guys keep dropping footballs, if we see a lot of drops this week again, even with Geronimo, Devontae, and possibly MVS out, if we see a lot of drops, Brian Gutekunst could go and want to make a move quickly before the deadline, and it makes a lot of sense for us, especially when we're not playing well and we have a lot of injuries. So I would have to say I imagine them, picking up somebody as well, whether it's, a guy for around like a fifth or sixth round pick, or whether it's just for a bigger deal, like a guy like Emmanuel Sanders and AJ Green. So. I mean, there's rumors that we're interested in both of those guys, so it'll be interesting to see if we come out with one of them or just kind of revert to a cheaper option that can still have a big impact.
How would you guys rank those receivers in terms of who you most want?
For me, I'd start off with Emmanuel Sanders as the top priority. He's, as we've all said, he's the best fit. We are kind of looking for a slot receiver, someone with sure hands, and I think Emmanuel Sanders is just that. And I do like Devontae Parker or Jakeem Grant from Miami. Both guys are only 26 years old, and I don't think the asking price would be that much. If we're looking for Emmanuel Sanders, it's going to be a third-round pick most likely, and I think one of those guys is worth like a fifth or a sixth. So either of those guys, they're young. As we said before, we really don't know who Jakeem Grant is. Devontae Parker is a very solid outside receiver. And the third guy, I liked when you were talking about Mohamed Sanu. I think he'd be a good fit here, and he's always kind of been overshadowed by, Julio Jones and I think Roddy White back in the day. So, either of those 3 or 4 guys would be pretty ideal for us.
Yeah, I agree with Emmanuel Sanders. Just considering, what it would take to get him, contract situation, everything, it really does make too much sense, like you said. And after that, Mohamed Sanu, I also agree with. He's another veteran guy, and I think that's one of the keys right now. We need another veteran guy. I think he has more years than the rest of our receiving core combined. He's got 8 years, so I just think he'd make a lot of sense for us, and he wouldn't come too expensive either. And after that, any of those Miami guys, I do like Jakeem Grant. He's another kind of slot receiver type, super fast, can help in the return game, which is another thing we need right now. And Josh Reynolds makes a lot of sense as well. So, any of those guys definitely would be a huge boost to the offense, kind of a Super Bowl move. And we need one of those right now.
Yeah, for me, I think my number one target would be Emmanuel Sanders, just because, like Mason said, it just makes too much sense. He's a veteran. He's 32 years old. Last year of his contract, we don't really have to make any salary commitments if he doesn't perform well. And then number 2 would probably be Mohamed Sanu, just because he knows the offense. He's another veteran. He'd be able to come in and produce right away. And then number 3, I'd have to probably go with, AJ Green is would be monstrous in Green Bay alongside Devontae Adams whenever he's back. But he is injured. He is going to be a lot of money. The Bengals are probably going to ask for more for him than teams like the Dolphins or Broncos will. But I don't know. I don't really know how realistic that is. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't really make too much sense for Cincinnati to trade him. So for my number 3, I'd probably have to go with Jakeem Grant, just because I think he's a very talented receiver. I think he's kind of being wasted in Miami, whose number one priority isn't really winning games right now. I think they're kind of having a fire sale for everyone on their roster. So I think we could get him for a pretty low price, really.
All right, guys, this will do it for this episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. From me, Bron, and Griff, you guys should follow us on Instagram at Lambeau Leapers, at All Day Packers, and at Packer Posts. And go Pack Go.